Welcome to Tomatoes, Puppies, and Everything Gardening. Before we even make it out my back door, you can see I have a jungle growing through the window. Here's my dog Tonto. He's very tired after our week-long beach trip. And even though our cat didn't go, he is very lazy today too. You'll see him in a second. There's my dill, my tetra dill. And I planted some seeds about a week ago, right before I left for my trip. And they're already germinating, which is really great for dill. You can see my celery has decided to flower. So I do love celery seeds. It's good to cook with, grind it, make some celery salt. Also, my small compact kale that was in this container has flowered. I've got some baby strawberries down at the bottom, and I have plans for this bed, which is like a raised garden cart bed. I'm going to take, if you can see the black wall containers on both sides of my back door, I'm actually going to put some new strawberry plants in those as soon as they arrive. I ordered them from Emma Gardner. And so all of the strawberries in this basket and the black rolling planter we just looked at with the celery, I'm going to move all of this variety of strawberry into those. And then the wall planters, I'm going to put the new plants that I ordered from Emma Gardner that were on sale a couple weeks ago called, I think it's Seascape. I've always wanted to try that variety. It's probably not even a good one for my zone, but we will see. You can see I did not finish the backyard yet. It's still a work in progress. The squirrels have been demolishing my petunias that I try to plant on the deck railing. There is one of my self-seeded lettuces that is now going to seed. And let's see what I'm trying to show you. The impatiens are doing great. For some reason the squirrels don't bother those, just my petunias. Here is a bunch of projects I left when we left for our trip last week. These are corabels and astilbe babies that I started from seed. I had my dwarf lemon cilantro is now producing seed, as you can see. I really want to collect those. And I trimmed my heuchera, one plant right before, well, it's probably been about 2.5 weeks ago. I do have roots on those, so now I can plant those in the ground. I'll probably wait until we get some rain coming before I try to put those into a shady spot in the backyard. Here is a collection of just random things. I've got some, what is that? I can't even think. Ginger popping out of that one pot. This is, I had some cumin and it did germinate, but I think it died while I was gone last week. You can see a rose there. I brought it from the front yard, pruned it really hard. It had a lot of disease. I'm hoping to bring it back. Look at my Ace 55s here in this container. They grew like a foot in a week, and now I need to tie them up. So that is a definite chore that needs to get done immediately. The peas in these two containers are kind of dwindling, so I'll probably go ahead and take those out. The bee balm has not bloomed. The ice plant here has, and you can see it's a gorgeous purple. And then I've got some more strawberry plants. I think I'm going to donate these to my neighbor. And then a sedum that I dug up probably 6 weeks ago is now starting to flower. I potted it because I want to take it with us when we move. Here are a couple of my little patio plants. You got some lamb's ear, a gypsy pepper, which grew a lot while I was gone this week. And look, you will see in just a second, there are baby peppers. I'm so excited. They're so cute. And there's some container basil there off to the side. I think it's called spicy container basil, if I'm not mistaken. And let's see what we're going to look at next. I can't remember. I just recorded this and I can't remember. Oh, the fig. The fig has gotten quite tall. It did survive the winter in a container, which was great. I've got some, what was that, red pineapple sage that I transplanted and it took. Here's a nasturtium that bloomed while I was gone. It looks so cute. There's Tonto looking for a bee. It was on the deck. Another petunia that was struggling, and patients that are not. These 3 bins have strawberries and lettuce, but while I was gone, the lettuce bolted. My husband said he's been eating off of these all week, but I'm not sure. There's quite a bit left. Here is an iceberg lettuce that started from seed. It's actually starting to form a head, so I'm really excited. I hope that it will continue and it will not get too hot for it, and we can have a nice head of lettuce there. What am I looking for here? I wanted to show you this rock. So you know the trick. There's a trick. Paint rocks, put them with your strawberries, and hopefully the birds will peck them and learn not to bother your strawberries. Oh, there's some more lettuce. So definitely this week we're going to eat lots of salads. We're going to get rid of all of the lettuce. We're going to harvest all the peas. We're going to continue harvesting strawberries. I need to go do that as soon as I finish this video. There's lots of strawberries, and you'll see that. Here we go. Some more nasturtium, and they're looking quite nice. They will really struggle soon in the heat, so I'm trying to give them some kind of shady spots. And then here is another Corabelle. Actually, this is the one I took the cuttings from that you saw earlier, and there are some babies down at the base. After this big major trimming, they should get enough sun to grow properly. My fern, after I did some work on it a couple weeks ago, is bouncing back, looking really lovely. And there's a panning view of the backyard. It's still a mess. I still have not completed any of those projects I said I was going to do a month ago. Here are my alpine strawberries. They've been producing, and there are so many, it's hard to keep up with them. I just love them for the beauty of them, and they provide a gorgeous ground cover. They're mounding, they're not runners, so they will fill in a spot nicely. They get probably, I'd say, 12 to 18 inches tall, and they're just really nice to have around, and perfect little tiny snack size for kids. I love these plants. I definitely will grow these anywhere we move in the future. I used to have two varieties. I had a pineapple alpine, and I had just a basic red alpine, but now they're all red, so I'm not sure what happened, if there was some kind of cross-pollination issue over the years. They're all red now. I would like to try the pineapple. I'll have to try again some other year. Here's that new expanded bed. I've been slowly expanding there on the left over the last several months. Looks like I wanted to show you the deck here though instead. Some more alpine, and then I've got some dwarf blueberry bushes in front on this side of the deck, and also more alpine strawberries in between each plant. So now we're back over to that bed where I'm showing you all my other blueberry plants, which are producing great this year. I just have to keep the birds off, so it's going to be a struggle. There is the artichoke that I planted, 6 weeks ago. He's looking pretty okay. And I don't know if you remember the video where I pruned this rose bush not too long ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. It has flushed out so pretty. I love it. I'm glad I put it into that pot. I just love this. This is called a fairy rose, and it's so delicate and precious. You can see my blackberries in the big black pot there doing great. And yeah, still need to get out here and finish edging and mulching. I haven't finished the fireplace area. You can see where a squirrel knocked over my pot. This is like the third time this summer. So I'll just have to go work on that flower later. It's a columbine. Getting back in there. And then in this tiered container, I have a steel bee, and I've got perennial geranium. And on the top, I just have basic pansies. Then over here, you'll notice I've got a bunch of blackberries. These are Navajo blackberries. And I looked down quite a bit in the video. That is because a second neighbor's dog was bitten 2 days ago while we were gone by a copperhead. So a neighbor across the street, her dog died probably 5 months ago from a copperhead. And now another dog has been bitten just 2 yards down. And I have had them in my yard before. So always cautious. I really need to finish the backyard project so that it looks trimmed and the mulch is fresh, so I can see. Oh, I'm showing you that chipmunk hole there. Snakes will travel in those holes, so they are attracted to the small mammals, and they go in those holes too. So I may have to plug that hole up. Anyways, yeah, so I have to be careful, watch where I'm putting my feet. This area is way too overgrown right now, and I can't really see if there's a copperhead there or not. So I need to get everything weeded, mulch with some black mulch so I can see if I see the copperhead. And then this bed, I think I worked on this about 3 or 4 months ago. I expanded it. It's really getting overgrown. I need to trim things back so that we've got some airflow and visibility. There's Jeffrey. He followed me throughout the entire video. And by the way, this is part 1 of 2 parts because it was just too long. It was like 45 minutes. That was the muscaria that I planted earlier this spring. It bloomed. It was gorgeous. But now it's producing seed heads. You can see. So I've got these strawberries here that I put in. I can't remember. I'd have to go back and look at the videos. I don't think they're getting enough sun, so I may eventually dig these up and move them. But here is the rose that my kids and I planted for my mother-in-law after she passed last year, and it's so pretty. Her favorite color was purple. It smells really beautiful too. And there's sweet alyssum, and there's some lemon winter savory. And here is one of those, I think they're called patty cake blackberry bushes. I think I got it at Sam's or Costco a year or 2 ago. Didn't do much last year. It's doing better this year. I had bought 2, but one of them died. So I think I may be spinning back around to take you up on the deck right now. I'm not quite sure what I'm doing. I think I'm going to show you my indoor tomato plant that got moved out. When did I move him out? 6 weeks ago? 4 weeks ago. It's probably more like 4 weeks ago. 3 or 4 weeks ago. He does still have some fruit that he's trying to plump up there. He needs some help though. I need to go fertilizing. And then here I've got a calendula that is making a flower. I think this variety is called Snow Princess, so I'm anxious to see that. Another lamb's ear, some more of those alpine strawberries, and some China aster. And there is some of the lavender that I started from seed in late December. Here is the Blue Girl Rose that I really had to have about a month ago. It already flowered. I think it's getting ready to put on some new growth for more flower. And look at my poor green stalks. I'm not even going to talk about them much because I'm going to do a separate video in a few days because I'm going to do some major work to them. They're just out of control. I mean, they're just overgrown. I've got peas that are done producing that need to get pulled. Some of them look really rough, as you can see. That's a diseased pea plant, but I still have peas. So I need to go pick all those peas, pick all the strawberries. I'm really going to freshen up these green stalks. They're just out of control. And then over here, just another bunch of wild stuff. Peas. I've got some, I think those are Bradley. He has fallen. He needs to get tied up. And here is a pepper that got its head chopped off, and he was able to split into 2 stems, and I was able to root the top, so that worked out fine. Some more peppers that I put in right before we left for our trip a week ago, and there's the snapdragon there. My other tier, this is the 7-leaf. It's a mess too, just a hot mess, and kind of dreading working on these guys because it's going to be a lot of work. Little gem lettuce in there with that snapdragon. And here I'm showing you why they call them a dragon, a snapdragon. You squeeze the head and it opens like a dragon's mouth. I showed that to my neighbor the other day and she thought that was really cool. And then some more tomatoes. So I've got a Paul Robeson, I've got a purple Cherokee, and in the back you've got 1 Dr. Witchy and 1 Earl's. Looks like I've got some lettuce leaf basil back in there too. It was kind of a mad dash about 8 days ago, right before I left for my trip. I was like putting plants anywhere I could find a hoe to put them. And there's some flamingo celosia, and that poor mustard looks horrible. I need some water. And let's see, just some random things in there, like volunteers that I would pot up. And I've got some just random things I found I was trying to keep alive, like little volunteers. Another view of the green stalk mess. And of course Jeffrey's still following me. And here are some starts that I was not able to get into the ground, which it worked out so perfectly because yesterday I had a friend ask, do you have any more tomato plants? There's a friend at church, her plants were stolen. So I'm like, yes, I do have some plants. And then my brother-in-law back in Kentucky's like, you know, we were Skyping with him yesterday. Hey, do you have 6 to 8 tomato plants? So I think it's actually going to work out perfectly where I did not have any surplus plants at all this year, despite the fact I grew so many. You can see here, goodness, that's a mess. I've got some spinach that is seeded or about to seed. It needs to go. I'm not going to save the seeds because I don't know what variety this is. I grew 3 or 4 different ones. It's not worth me keeping it. I'll just buy seeds. And my Italian sage still looks really pretty. I do have a pepper on each pot on each side of that sage. And then I moved my cauliflowers over here. And the lettuces have bolted. This is a head lettuce. It should have tolerated the heat a little bit better, but it's not. There's a few smaller ones. Maybe they'll do something. I don't know. I've got some red cabbages that are really small. I may have to just pull those. You can see I've got a couple cucumbers coming up in the back. And all of the Napa cabbage I tried to grow, even though I started it from seed, it was the right timing. It all bolted. Bed of strawberries. I've got peas in the back. Those are Spring Blossom Blush, I believe. And here's some Canterbury bells. I don't think it's a good spot. They're falling over. They're not getting enough sun. So they're going to have to, I'll have to put them somewhere else next year. They are biennial. So if they self-seed, I can't really do much about that. Other than just go ahead and pull them now before they seed. But I'm not going to do that because they're still beautiful. I'll just get some kind of plant support and get them upright. There's some heuchera there. And I was trying to grow some passion fruit flower on that trellis there. And I tried to get it to germinate and nothing happened. So it takes, I think, 30 to 90 days. I did pick up some cucumber there at Aldi's, so I put a couple plants just to see if they would climb that trellis and fruit. It's a really low part sun location, so I'm not sure. And well, here's some peas. They're ready to be picked. I'm going to pick all these peas. Even though there's still a few blossoms, I'm done with them. I'm going to plant some beans instead. And here's another climbing rose. This is raspberry swirl. It was really pretty the week before I left. It's looking a little shabby right now. It's still pretty though. It still has some pretty blossoms on it. So let's see. I think I'm going to spin around. Yep. And we're going to be on this other bed area that flanks my fence. You see I have some coneflower, and it will do okay in the part sun. Some coneflower in a pot, and then more coneflower. And those are those Canterbury bells that have fallen. Ferns, of course, are going to do really well back under here. At this part of the bed, we're getting into like really shade because I'm under the tree. Some heuchera, and I was just showing you the next yard over is where the copperhead did that dog the other day. And well, I don't know what I'm looking at here. I think I'm just giving you an overview of where we just came from. And there's Jeffrey, of course. And look at all these volunteer. These are red pearl peppers. And or are they black pearl? I think it's black pearl peppers. From last year, I had them in these pots, and they just self-seeded, and they started growing all on their own. So I have them in both containers on both sides of these raspberries. When I ordered those strawberries from Emma Gardner, I also ordered 2 more raspberry plants. So I need to get those peppers out, amend that soil, and plant the new raspberry plants in each of those pots. So that's something I will get done this week. You can see I've got more Alpine strawberries that I transplanted here in front of these containers. I have eaten a few strawberries, so they are starting to actually produce. And they're getting quite big. My baby bird family is now gone. So I'm going to move the bluebird house into a tree out in the woods, so I don't have to worry about them falling and any of the dogs from either side of the fence bothering the birds. Here's some perennial geranium again. It's really pretty. I need to grow some more of this from seed. And I thought I did. I thought I did grow some, but I don't know where it's at. More of those black pearl volunteers and some other random weeds and such in there. My camellias, they're kind of like in a dormant state right now for me. They're actually growing and putting on lots of great, beautiful new growth, but they're not flowering. They flower more in the winter and very early spring. Here's that new L-shaped bed that I made about 2.5, 3 months ago maybe. I did put some tomatoes in here. I ran out of space. I'm like, well, let's try them here. I'm trying varieties that are more acceptable to shade conditions, which would be your Purple Cherokee, the Paul Robeson. I also have my Purple Rain tomatoes because they didn't seem to like heat or lots of light too much. Here is that Dolly Parton rose that I rescued, and it is looking great. I'm really happy to see that. Here is another bed that needs some work, an amendment. This I thought was a cabbage, but maybe it's some kind of kale. I don't know. I've got a bunch of flowering carrots in the front there. And then you can see I've got those black trellises that I'm actually going to plant either cucumber or beans on. Probably beans. They'll do better than the cucumbers in this lighting situation. Let's see. So, oh gosh, what was it? 4 months ago maybe? I put one of the hardy hibiscus here. And it did not take to that location. It died. So instead, I've got 2 of my queen lime zinnias growing there. And here is a view of the walkway from the backyard to the top of the driveway. And then on the left is my raised bed area. And I also have an arch right here over top of me.